Hey guys, Dr. Mark T. Wade here, founder of Virtual Summit Software, creator of the One Day Summit formula, and I want to talk about a strategy that I get a ton of questions on, and that is going to be our speaker recruitment strategy. So when it comes to one-day summits or even traditional multi-day summits, everybody's always asking, how do I recruit speakers? It seems to be one of the more complex or complicated aspects of running your one-day summit, just because you have to reach out to people that are maybe higher up on the influence level than you, or maybe you're just getting started, you don't really have any connections or influence or authority. So we're gonna tackle those right now. We're gonna cover all of those. We're gonna cover the strategies you can use to overcome that and get amazing speakers on your one-day summit. Now, keep in mind, you can run a premium one-day summit, or you can even run a one-day summit without any type of speakers. So you don't have to have speakers on your one-day summit. Although if you're going for a list builder, it's usually recommended because you'll be able to target their audiences. Now, we call this a collaborative marketing strategy, okay? When you're using something like a one-day summit where you're going to be collaborating with other influencers or other people in your niche or even colleagues or whatnot, you're collaborating together, marketing to build your list or to accomplish a specific type of goal. So these are my favorite. Collaborative marketing strategies are my favorite, and there's none better than the one-day summit. So let's get through this. First off, speakers. Where are you going to find them? Where should you be finding speakers? The best way to start looking for speakers is to start off by looking, who do you know? Who's around you? What warm connections do you have? When I ran my very first one-day summit, I reached out to instructors or teachers that I had taken courses with, that I had gotten certifications from or taken courses with, and I asked them to be a part of it. So I had this connection with them. At that time, we weren't colleagues. We weren't even on the same level. They were, higher up the ranking, but because I was a student of theirs, but they were invested and we had built a relationship because I had, paid them for their courses and their knowledge. So they were open to that. So always looking first, like warm connections is always best. Also, don't always think you have to have like the biggest name or the most prestigious person on your summit. A lot of times somebody with an extremely engaged audience or following could be far better than even one of the most well-known influencers, because a lot of times those top influencers, their marketing calendars are going to be packed. Maybe they will speak on your summit for you, but they may not promote it. Whereas somebody else, that this is a good opportunity for them. One, they're going to be appreciative and thankful and grateful, but they'll also probably push it much, much harder. So that's always good too. So don't always think about that. Also, don't always think of somebody directly in your vertical. A lot of times it's good when you're setting up your one-day summit to think of people outside of even your vertical. Like, if you're doing Facebook marketing, for example, you wouldn't necessarily just have to find people that can teach on Facebook marketing. You could find somebody that teaches any type of marketing that maybe has a different vantage point or viewpoint. And one of the things I always like to do a lot of times on my summits is I like to bring somebody with a counter viewpoint. It creates a little bit of controversy, and with controversy, it creates engagement and also creates virality. So sometimes it's great to even go out and find people that have opposing viewpoints to what you're teaching. So, and don't let that be an objection or a fear. People are going to believe what they're going to believe, but by you showing that you are open to providing both sides of it, they're going to see you as a lot more transparent and a lot more, they're going to be a lot more likely to build that know, like, trust, because they're going to feel like they can trust you. Additionally, don't even be afraid to invite competition, especially people that are in your vertical competitors. These are great. For one, like, I believe, even our competitors can be great partners in different aspects, and that, obviously there's plenty of pie to go around for everybody. But think of it like this: your competitor, your direct competitor, has your target audience. He or she has your customers. So they are one of the best people to think about when bringing on your summit. And they're going to look at it as like you being kind of the bigger person, or you're outreaching that firsthand. So think of it like that too. Don't be afraid to reach out to competitors. So that's kind of where to find them. Again, now expectations, okay? Expectations, this is important because a lot of times people think they're just going to reach out to people and they're going to immediately get all these speakers. Even if you're not reaching out to A-listers, it's just not the reality. If you're just getting started, this first thing you've ever kind of done in online marketing, or this is your first time doing a summit, or first time actually doing an interaction with other people, you may want to think of it the ratio as 1 to 10. You're going to need to contact 10 speakers to get one. Okay, if you have no connections, no warm connections, this is your first thing. Think of 10 to 1. Now, if you've got some kind of connections, you've got some established, you got some kind of credibility or presence at least. Most often, the expectation is about 1 in 5. For every one speaker, you'll need to contact 5. And that's just the reality of it because people are going to be busy. They're going to be gone. They're not going to be interested. Their promotional calendar is going to be full. Something's going to happen, et cetera, et cetera. So if you just plan for 1 in 5, if you want 10 speakers, you're going to contact 50. Therefore, you can do the research and find 50 people, send it out, and then you're going to be good. If you're wanting 5, then you're going to contact 25. Now, after you've done these a couple times and you've started to build some influence and connections and you've got warm leads and things like that, then it's usually going to be 1 in 2 or 1 in 3. But I always still plan for higher just so I'm never having to scrounge for a last minute speaker. So the expectations. Now, we're going to go over the recruitment strategies here in just a second. But one of the big things is like incentives. Like, how do I get speakers on there? One of the number one questions people ask me is, do you pay your speakers? I never pay speakers, but there's nothing wrong with paying speakers. I don't recommend you pay your speakers the first time you run a one-day summit. You can get plenty of people on to speak that you don't have to pay. Okay, most people are willing to speak without being paid. Like, that's the norm. It is not normal to pay people to be on your one-day summit. So I just want to break that kind of belief system right there. It's not normal to pay people to be on your one-day summit. There's a lot of other ways that we incentivize our speakers. Payment's usually not one of them. Now, after you've done these a while and if you have a specific strategy and there's a key person that you want to have on your one-day summit and that they don't do interviews or anything like that. Now you also know your conversion rates and what you can anticipate on your return on investment. At that point, then you can start to decide, do I want to pay somebody to promote or to be on to speak? But until you're at that level, don't worry about paying people, okay? There's plenty of other ways to incentivize our speakers. The most common is they're going to be able to build their list. Well, the most common, the most well-known is they're going to get publicity. They're going to get exposure from being on your summit. The bigger your summit is, the more exposure and publicity they're going to get. But the second thing is they get to build their list, which is why this is a collaborative marketing strategy. As you build your list, they build their list. And the way that happens is you allow them to give some kind of free gift during their presentation or their interview. So you've already collected the leads. They've already opted into your summit. So you've already got them. You're building the relationship. However, to keep your speakers happy, especially if you really want these speakers to become your champions in the future, which we can talk about in just a second, you want to make sure that they're being taken care of. So if they're building their list from being on your summit, you're going to be one of their top or favorite people, okay? Building their list is super important. So allowing your speakers to offer like a free giveaway or free gift on their summit or on your summit, on their presentation or interview is a really great way to do that. If you're using the Virtual Summit software, the Virtual Summit software already has that built in. The speakers can just put in their links and then they can already do it. And a matter of fact, like a quick story, I did a summit called Expert Speaker Training Workshop mid last year. And after it finished, I went ahead and put it on our Ever Summit protocol, which with the Virtual Summit software, it reruns the summit ongoing automatically as if it was live forever. And I recently talked to one of the speakers I had on that one-day summit. This was like maybe a month ago. And we were doing a partner webinar to his group. And he actually told me for the first time, hadn't told me this before, that one of the things that impressed him the most was when he did the summit, like he did everything he was asked, and then I didn't, I handled everything else. It was very hands off for him. And then he started seeing the advertising happening. And then all of a sudden he started to get all of these new leads coming in, and he looked at where they were coming from, and they were coming from this one-day summit. He said, but the cool thing is every week I kept looking, I just kept getting more and more leads. And so then he was looking at me as an expert in being able to generate traffic and build a list because I was doing this for him. So of course he was willing to reciprocate or to champion for me at a later date. So that's one of the reasons, that's a reason why you always want to make sure your speakers are well taken care of, and it doesn't always include monetarily. Now the second one is monetarily, but it's not, you're not paying them. It's affiliate commission. So it's a commission, and what happens is you give them essentially a referral link, and anytime they refer somebody to the summit that opts in and then purchases the upgrade, they get a commission from that. Commissions are very commonly 50%. If it's a really big, well-known speaker, you can be flexible with this. You can go higher on commission or you can go lower on commission. But by allowing them to generate income by sending you traffic is another way to get them to actually email out. So other incentives that are less usually thought of that you can offer to bigger speakers, these bigger players that we're going to talk about here in a second, that don't cost you anything but are huge value for your speakers, are things like a collaboration. So you can do a partner webinar where they can do a webinar to the new list that you've just generated. You can allow them to send out 1, 2, 3 or some amount of emails to your list, either with an offer or a free gift to allow them to build their list. You can allow them to do blog posts. You can allow them to do a Facebook Live to the new community you've just built. You can offer to support them in any kind of upcoming launch, book launch, promotion, anything like that they have on the horizon. And as well, of course, you can pay them. But these right here have huge value. They cost you nothing, huge value to the speaker. And so you can negotiate that to get these bigger speakers to not only speak on your summit, but to also promote it. So there's a lot of incentives that we don't always think about, but they have huge incentive. So when that don't involve you having to pay out, that or what we just covered right there. So those are the incentives I use. Now let's cover a couple recruitment strategies here. Again, if you're just coming on, we're covering collaborative marketing strategies. So like with our one-day summit, we're going over speakers, speaker recruitment, and how to get speakers to sign up. This is one of the most common questions I get, so I figured I'd just do a live training on this to help you out here. So we've talked about recruitment strategy. Close connections are always the best. Doesn't mean you're asking that person to speak. If you have a close connection, there's 6 degrees of separation, right? So ask your community, ask the people you know, send an email out. If you're looking to get certain people to speak on your one-day summit, just ask. A lot of times somebody will have a connection to either the person you're specifically looking to get or to somebody, somebody in general that covers that certain topic. So if you got if you've covered your problem, you got your solutions and you're looking for a specific speaker, but you don't know who to find, ask your community. Also just close connections in general, asking people that you know will generally pull in speakers that'll be happy to speak on the topic. They'll be knowledgeable and they'll be willing to promote without any kind of major incentive. So always start there. That's one of the most overlooked things, is just asking people in your community and people you're connected to. So when getting speakers, more commonly with a multi-day or a traditional multi-day summit, like a virtual summit, we want to have like this big anchor. So like one big name that solidifies everything. Now, when you're doing a one-day summit, you don't need that as much. It is still beneficial if you can get that one name. The thing that I like to talk to people about with this right here is most of the time they have one person in mind. So if you're going for the anchor, like, let's say you're going for somebody super important, like Russell Brunson, Tony Robbins, Brendon Burchard, somebody at that level, most likely you're not going to be able to get the one person you're looking for. A lot of times they're not doing promotions. Their promotional calendar is full. There's all kinds of reasons why they won't be able to do it. But that's the wrong way to think about it. You shouldn't be thinking about one person. You should be thinking, I'm trying to get somebody at this level, because that is totally possible. When we remove thinking about just one person and we start thinking about, I want anybody at this level, that becomes a lot more plausible. And the reason is because every single person, even our anchors, even our huge influencers, have to promote themselves at some time or another. Either they have a book launch coming up, they got a new promotion, they need to overcome a smear campaign, they're looking to do some kind of new product or program or something different that they're just trying to get out. Those people are looking to promote, and they will take any opportunity they can. Perfect example of this is last year, Jack Canfield, the author of Chicken Soup for the Soul, he had a new book coming out. So any other time, you're not going to get Jack Canfield on your podcast or to do an interview with you. But the month he had his book coming out, he took any interview request that came his way. He did over 1,000 interviews in that month. That was because he had a new book coming out that he needed and wanted to promote. So now if you were to try and get Jack Canfield now, you probably wouldn't be able to get him. So the point is, you can get these influencers. You just have to find the one that needs to promote themselves now. So be open to reaching out to multiple or many. Okay, so that's the anchor. Now the thing is, once you have an anchor, it's going to be much easier to get even like level, A level influencers and below on, because they all want to be associated with the anchor. This is what we call expert leverage. So once you have one or two big names, then it makes it much easier to get the other people to come on board. So with this, it's called expert leverage. So this is the exact same thing you're doing with the collaborative marketing strategy on your one-day summit. You're leveraging the expertise, the credibility, the relationships, the influence, etc. of the speakers you're having on your one-day summit. Well, these other speakers, they're looking to do the same. So if I've got Tony Robbins on my one-day summit, well, it's going to be much easier for me to get some other influencers on there because they're going to want to be associated with Tony Robbins as well. It looks good for them. So expert leverage works both ways. It's going to be working for you, but once you have an anchor or an A-level influencer, those are going to be very well for you to be able to get other speakers on. So once you get that anchor or an A-level influencer, make sure it's okay. Like, make sure you have everything solidified and they've agreed and they're going to do it. But then I would use that in my communication when I'm reaching out. We have people like Tony Robbins or Brendon Burchard or whatever on the summit, and we think you'd be a great fit too. Because as soon as they see or hear about that anchor, they're going to be interested in it because of expert leverage. Now, that's kind of going from the top down. From the bottom up, I like to use the stair-stepper protocol. This is probably one of the more powerful, or probably, I wouldn't say powerful, but I'd say the more the more fruitful strategy we use. So the stair-stepper protocol is every time you reach out to somebody, I primarily use this if they say yes, but you could honestly use it with anybody you reach out to, but I just find it more effective with the people who've said yes. Anytime somebody says yes to speaking on your one-day summit, after you've solidified everything, you simply say, thank you very much. We're looking for other amazing, influencers like yourself. Would you know anybody else that may be interested or willing to speak on this summit? About 50% of the time, that person's going to say yes, okay? So, like, the person's going to say, yes, I know somebody. And then about 20% of the people that they're going to recommend are going to be one level up. So you're asked this person here, do you know anybody? He's going to say, yes, I do know somebody. They're going to recommend it. And then that person's going to be one level up. Okay, you can decide if the person comes on or not. And obviously, if you're looking for more speakers, you'll take just about anybody that has that can solve the problem as you can. But you just keep doing that, and then the next person that was just recommended to you, when they come on after you get them on, you do the same thing. Do you know anybody that would be good to be on this summit? 50% of the time they're going to say yes. About 20% of those people they recommend are going to be one step above them or slightly above them. So this is, again, the stair-stepper protocol. Simply asking the people on that have agreed to speak on your summit, if they know anybody that would be a good fit for the summit, you're going to get more speakers on it. So this works really well, especially if you're doing a multi-day, like a traditional multi-day virtual summit, and you need 30, 40, 50 speakers. This is a really great strategy because you'll even take those people who may be slightly a rung down, and then those people, same thing, But with those, a lot of times the reason this works so well is, especially if you're talking to an influencer with a tribe, a membership, or mastermind, they look good. They're the hero to their community when they can provide opportunities like this to people in their community. So they'll find, kind of their rising stars or things like that, and they'll let them know, and they'll put you guys in touch. So stair-stepper protocol is extremely powerful, extremely effective, I guess is a better way of saying it. Extremely effective at recruiting speakers. The last one, which is the least effective, but it's still something to know about, is social outreach. So we've talked about with the close connections, reaching out to your community. That's one way. You can do it if you have like a Facebook group or anything like that. You can put it out. You can put it out on your social media pages, things like that. However, social outreach, what I'm specifically referring to, is almost like cold call. So going straight to the person's either Facebook page or Instagram or whatnot and contacting them directly there. Something that's still working really well right now, more so than like Facebook or email or website, is Instagram direct message. So most influencers, until you get to that like A5 level and above, up to the anchors level, are still dealing with they still handle their own Instagram. Now, some of them are getting so many messages they may not see yours. However, if you follow them and then send them a message, that direct message goes right to them. So you have a decent chance at getting across to some influencers. Now, this is not going to be your most highly productive way of getting speakers, but it's still a way to do it. I've definitely gotten A-level speakers on my summits by sending a direct message on Instagram. Okay. So kind of last little piece to this, and then we'll wrap it up. Again, this is collaborative marketing strategies with your one-day summit, speaker outreach, things to know about speaker recruitment. So the communication. So this is probably the most common question I get is, Mark, do you got some kind of template I can do to send out to speakers? Yes, I could give you my templates. I could give you my emails. The thing is, I custom write every single email that I send out to anybody that's an A level or higher. So anybody that you're trying to reach, using my template's not going to help you, or using my email is not going to help you, because anybody that's A level or anchor or influencer, they're going to see right through that. You should not send a templated email to a high level influencer, or it's going to get ignored. First off, it's probably going to go to a VA or an EA, and they're going to see it and be like, well, this is just generic, it's promotion, it's spam, whatever, and it's going to get ditched to the side. So when you're reaching out to anybody that's of importance or influence, you want to custom write your email. Make it personal, make it so they know that it's personal, it's not a template, like it's super important. And the best way to do that is to include something recent that they've done, that, a book, podcast, like anything, something recent that they've done and what it's meant to you or how it's affected you, or something positive, essentially. Now, it's got to be the communication, the email's got to be short and to the point. Obviously, social outreach has got to be even shorter. So it's really, really short, finite, to the point, get your message clear. If you send an influencer like a page-long email, they're not going to read it. It's just too much. They're not going to read it. So short, to the point. Let them know what you're doing, what you're trying, like what you're wanting. Don't go into all the details of what you're going to pay, how many emails, this, that. Just, I'm putting on this one-day summit or this expert speaker training workshop. I'd love for you to be a speaker on it. We have, I've got Shah Wasman speaking on this, or I got Lewis Howes on this, speaking on this, and I think you would be a great complementary to this as well. The topic I really think you would do well on, or that I'd like you to speak on, and the topic that is in their zone of genius, like I talk about this all the time. If you reach out to an influencer to ask them to speak on something that maybe they're good at, but it's not the thing they want, like that they teach or they make their money on, they're not going to do it. Perfect example. If you reach out to me and say, Mark, I want you to speak on my podcast, my summit, my live event, my mastermind on the one-day summit formula, that's a heck yeah for me. I'm in on that. I'm going to try and figure out how I can make that work. However, if you reach out to me and go, Mark, I want you to talk about how you got your podcast in the top 100, or how it was a new and noteworthy for over 6 months, I don't want to talk on that. Yeah, it's true. I did well with that and I have a podcast and all this stuff, but that's not the thing I'm teaching on or want to talk on, so it's probably going to be a no. Same thing's valid for all influencers, okay? So have the topic that's relative to their zone of genius, the thing, also knowing what they're currently teaching or like what they're hot on right now, super important. Let them know that, and then link to more information. Like, hey, I wanted to keep this super brief. Here's more information if you want more information. Otherwise, let me know and I can send you some specific details. So let them know they can either look here or you'll just send up with the specific details. And most of the time, they're going to ask for the specific details, but a lot of times they'll click the link and not even let you know. So it's always good to have that. But then also have the follow-up planted. So essentially, I know you're super busy. If I don't hear back from you in about a week, I'll follow up with you in about a week to make sure, to see if you have any more questions. So hopefully or whatever, I'll follow up with you in 2 days, 4 days, whatnot. So you just want to kind of put that in there. Maybe not even make it as forward as that. Just like, thanks again for reading this or considering this. I hope to hear back from you soon and I'll stay in touch, whatever. I also have here, warm intros, always the best. I mean, I know I've said that like 3 times now, but it's just the best. Like if you have anybody that can put you in touch with that person, it's going to increase your chances dramatically over just a cold outreach. So this is the email communication. And then if you don't hear back from them, follow up. That's going to probably be the most reoccurring theme with speaker outreach and setting up your interviews is you're going to have to follow up with them so many times, even until they say no or yes, follow up with them. Don't spam them. Don't just email them every day. Give them a few days, but email them 2, 3, 4 times until they say yes or no. Additionally, with that, that's one of the other reasons I love the Virtual Summit software is after they've said yes, as far as collecting all of their speaker information and things like that, the Virtual Summit software automatically handles that. You set what dates you want the reminders to go out. Anybody that hasn't completed their speaker profiles or if you're not doing interviews, they're doing presentations. If they haven't finished their presentation, it automatically follows up with them via email. And anybody who's got it completed doesn't get that email. So it's one of my favorite features on the Virtual Summit software. I'll put a link in here somewhere so you can check that out. The last piece to this, again, collaborative marketing strategies on speaker recruitment and outreach is first off, mistake I've made. Don't make this mistake. Never release your speaker list. Everybody's going to email, go, who else do you have speaking? That's going to be the number one question you're going to get back. That's why it's always important to have, try and get an anchor or an A-level 5 speaker, an influencer, and because then you can follow up and say, oh, well, we have, John Lee Dumas and Amy Porterfield or Selena Sue speaking on this one-day summit, and we're in contact with multiple other people just like them. Don't tell them who them is. Don't release the speaker list of the people that are not your A level or your level, your influencer level, and don't tell them who you're contacting. Okay, the reason you do that, or the reason why you don't do that, you pick the 1 or 2 that you've got that are influencers. This is who we've got, and we're contacting other people just like them. That lets them know, okay, this is going to be a pretty high quality summit. The reason you don't do this is you never know. What I ended up having happen to me is I was putting on a summit. I was outreaching. This was early on, back in the day. I was outreaching. Somebody asked me who I was having on the summit. I said, here's the 4 people that have confirmed. Here's the other people that we're currently reaching out to. These were people that we're actually back and forth with. They hadn't said yes. They hadn't said no, but they hadn't said yes yet. Well, that one person happened to be in the process of trying to put on a very similar product to what I was doing with my summit. She outreached to all of the speakers on that list and got them to all cancel. It tanked the summit. I ended up having to cancel the summit. So never release your speaker list to anybody. Always just say who you have as the influencer, and you have other people like that. Learn from my mistake. 99% of the time that'll never happen, but why risk it? And then the last thing, always expect that people are going to cancel. So if you're needing exactly 10 speakers and you have 10 lined up, one of those people is going to cancel. Just expect it to happen. Something's going to happen. They're going to get busy. It's going to get pushed back, et cetera, et cetera. Always be ready to have somebody else on there, or be willing to have one less speaker than you need, or go ahead and contact one more than you need. And if you have one more extra, then, great, more the merrier. So again, just to really recap here, this was our collaborative marketing strategies using the one-day summit on speaker outreach and recruitment. Incentives are not always, are usually not monetary. We have a lot of other incentives. You need to know where to find your speakers, have an expectation. You're going to contact a minimum 5 to get 1. Our recruitment strategies always start with close connections. That's always overlooked for some reason. Close connections, outreach to your group, your community, your social. Anchor technique, it's not about finding the one, it's about finding someone at that level. Using expert leverage once you have an influencer or an anchor. And then, of course, the stair-stepper protocol is one of the most fruitful strategies to building out your speaker list. And then, of course, there's also social outreach. Communication, you need to write an original email. I know everybody wants a template, but write an original email. Make sure it's personal. Make sure that they can tell it's an original personal email. Keep it short, to the point. Don't release your speaker list. Guys, Dr. Mark T. Wade here, founder of Virtual Summit Software, creator of the One Day Summit. It's scale or fail. The choice is yours. So hustle hard, scale big.